G'day Merkies, welcome to Auto Merc Shop. In today's episode, we will be fixing this Mercedes-Benz C200 Kompressor with a stalling issue. This car has a 4-cylinder petrol engine with a supercharger. These cars are made from 2005 to up to 2008-ish. Most of the Mercedes models which had the compressor badge on the back of them had this same engine. So most of the information that we are sharing through this video is relevant to all of the Mercedes compressor models. I bought this car about 3 months ago for a bargain. The reason why the previous owner wanted to sell this was he could not get it fixed. According to him, he had the engine light come up on the dash intermittently. Whenever the engine light was on, the car had less power. He did mention that he took it to his mechanic and they were able to somehow erase the cords, and then he was able to drive the car for a few days, sometimes few weeks and even some months. But the problem was it was always coming up again. And then he thought he's had enough, he wanted to get rid of it. And then I saw this car on marketplace for half of its market value, and when I went to had a look at the car was in great condition. As you can see, the exterior is excellent and also the interior is pretty clean. Now when I actually went to have a look, I did took it for a small test drive. The car performed all right. Obviously the engine light was on, and then when I was trying to park the car in his car park, the car stalled on me. There are many reasons why a car engine might stall. Sometimes it could be a blocked fuel filter, sometimes it could be a bad fuel pump, and it could be even something electrically related. Now in this case, I did actually have to check a lot more than that. That is one of the reasons why I thought I would make a video out of this. So anybody out there who's trying to fix their car with a similar issue would actually go through and check everything before they replace a component. Let's first have a look at the fault code using a scan tool. I have a really simple scan tool which allows me to have a look at the fault code in the Engine ECU. Let's plug it in and have a look at the fault code first. The fault is intermittent, so sometimes I can clear the fault code, and then when I start the car, the engine light is not on the dash, but later when I take it for a test drive, it will start surging and it will also give me the engine light on, and sometimes it will stall the engine completely. I checked on the fault code first and I checked my crankshaft position sensor. To do that, I did use an oscilloscope and I had a look at the crankshaft position sensor signal, and I also confirmed if the plug, socket and the pins were in good condition. I did check the fuel pressure on my engine. Now these engines should have 4.2 bar while the engine is idling. I did plug in this fuel pressure gauge into the fuel pressure rail in here, and I had a look at my fuel pressure and it was above 4.2 bar, and it did not fluctuate even when the engine was stalled, and that confirmed the fuel pressure side of my engine was good. Then I checked the boost pressure side of the engine. Because this engine has a supercharger, it has charge air pipes, an intercooler and some secondary air injection. I did check on all of that because they are all related to the boost pressure side of the engine. Now I'm going to post videos separately on how to check all of these systems one by one so that you clearly know how to diagnose them separately. After checking the boost pressure of the engine, I did have a look at my air mass sensor. The air mass sensor is the sensor which measures how much air is going into the engine to match with the fuel injection. Now I did have a look at the air mass sensor signal, and also I had a look at the plugs and connectors. I'm planning on doing individual videos on how to test these components one by one, but the purpose of this video is to actually give you an idea of which systems that you need to look at if your car has a similar issue. Now after checking the air mass sensor, I did have a look at the secondary air injection. The secondary air injection is a system which is connecting the intake air to your exhaust. Now through the secondary air injection, it's pumping some fresh gas into the exhaust side to bring the catalytic converter to the optimal temperature. After checking the fold codes, the fuel pressure, the crankshaft sensor signals and all the other systems I mentioned, I was quite certain there should be something wrong with my engine ECU. So I started suspecting the engine ECU. Engine ECU is not a component that fails quite often. In this case, what I've found is there has been some oil leak seeping into the engine ECU. Now these C200 compressor models are known for leaking engine oil from their camshaft adjusters. These camshaft adjusters, when they leak oil, the leaked oil actually finds their way into the engine wiring harness, and then through the wiring harness the leaked oil ends up in the engine ECU. Right here, that is the engine control module. I cannot remove it until I remove the airbox, so that's why I'm going to remove this intake pipe and the airbox, and then I could get the engine control module removed, and I'm going to install a second-hand reprogrammed module into this car. We do have 3 bolts holding the AMR sensor and the AMR sensor housing to the airbox. To remove that, what you have to do is you have to really disconnect and remove these 3 screws on the back of the AMRs. There's 3 bolts, but I've already removed 2 of it already, so I only have to remove this last one here just to make sure the radio is short. And this tool is a really helpful one if you want to remove a hose clamp which is far away from you. If you can't reach it, if you don't have enough space to get your hands in there, you can pretty much use this one. It's a great tool, so you can remotely compress and release hose clamps. What you do, you have to slowly get your hands in there and then get the tool to line with the clamp, and then you can remotely press this. And the other good thing is this tool automatically locks the clamp in position, so you can leave it there and then you can easily lift up. There you go. So I'm removing the AMRs. So this is the AMR sensor in here. So once you disconnect it, you can put it aside. And then there's 2 screws in here. And then there's these 2 bolts which I'm going to remove. So these bolts, guys, they do not come out, they stay with the housing, so you only have to loosen them well enough and then you can lift up the airbox. But there's these 2 clamps in here that you gotta release, and then you can put aside that one, and then you can do not lift it up. You will have to push it backwards and lift it up because these 2 locators are going into these rubber bushings. Right, so what you can see here is the engine ECU mounted onto the airbox. Now we have to remove these 3 screws and then we can transfer another module into this airbox. not going to use the electric drill to fully tighten these bolts. I'm only going to use the ratchet. I just don't want to do any damage to the plastic housing. Right, so the reprogrammed ECU is ready to go back into the car. Let's fit it on. I have finished installing the second-hand ECU into this car, which was cloned using the genuine ECU of this engine. I'm gonna start the engine. Let's have a look and see if I have actually fixed the problem. Now you can clearly see it's a complete change from the beginning. Now before, the engine used to surge. Now you cannot see any surging in my engine RPM gauge here. Before, the engine RPM gauge used to fluctuate a lot. And then I also had the engine light on here, and then the engine also stalled within 1 or 2 minutes. Now I'm pretty sure I've fixed the issue. Let's take it for a quick test drive and see if we have really done the job. The engine is not surging or stalling anymore, so I have definitely fixed the issue and it's driving perfectly normal.